There it is.
I am resident of College for YouTube, Joel Sames. That is my buddy Alan Gallant. That is my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to review the movie Capricorn One. And what a movie it is. It's very interesting. Its release dates, it's got more than one. December 10th, 1977, Japan. June 2nd, 1978, United States. Let's see, who was it released by? Production companies ITC Entertainment, distributed by Warner Brothers. This is directed by Peter Hyams, written by Peter, produced by Paul and Lazarus III, starring a lot of names here: Elliot Gould, James Brolin, Brenda Vaccaro, O.J. Simpson, Hal Holbrook, David Huddleston, Karen Black is here, Terry Savalas, and Denise Nicholson, Dark Shadows fame, is in this as well.
What does she play?
Give me 1 second.
It's Denise Nicholas, and she's an African American actress.
Oh, Denise Nicholas. Sorry. Betty Walker. Sorry, I got the wrong name.
How did Denise Nicholson pull that off?
I'm magical.
I think she played the command module.
Magical.
That was it.
Magical. Give it the host.
It wasn't the blueberry.
To fuck it up.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't be scared.
This movie is really interesting. It starts off like they're going to go in outer space. The astronauts, that is, being Brolin's character and O.J. Simpson, and the guy who's going to become famous for his attorney role in Law and Order, Sam. I think isn't right. Waterstone is here in this movie as well. So that's your astronauts, and before the launch happens, they get pulled out, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna fake this," and they're like, "Really, like." No one's happy with it, really, but then they threaten, "Hey, we have your families. We'll take them." Basically, they're threatening to kill their families. You might as well say. Guys, when did you first see this movie, Alan?
Probably sometime in the early 80s, I think. That was during that early golden age of VHS tapes, and so whenever that came out, at some point fairly soon thereafter, I rented it. I knew about it. I just hadn't seen it. I hadn't actually seen it in the theater. So probably, between 1983 or 4, something like that. Something like that. I'm not sure exactly. But it was sometime along those lines. Sometime after I discovered a video store in my neighborhood. So
Patrick, when did you first see this movie?
Oh, the summer of '78. I saw it in the theaters. I think I saw it twice in the theaters, in fact. There wasn't a lot of space stuff coming out then.
That's right.
It was far from the Ron Howard golden era. And so you took everything you could get, including stuff by Peter Hyams, which, sometimes you have to be a little hard up to okay, I'll go see a Peter Hyams movie. But
another interesting combination of American and British production, which
yeah, I think it's worth talking about because the mogul behind this, Sir Lou Grade,
yes,
generally known in England as Sir Low Grade,
yes,
because of his questionable standards.
But he did find a lordship eventually. So
he did, and he brought us the Muppets.
Yes.
So broken clocks right twice a day. I think he was responsible for Raise the Titanic.
I think you might be right. Shivers.
He was like an English Jennings Lang, except his genitals had not been shot at by Joan Bennett's husband. Yeah.
He somehow avoided that apt punishment.
Sure. I would love to think that was Dennis Patrick who was the victim of that. It just seems cosmically appropriate. But she hated Dennis Patrick. Apparently, she really didn't like the guy.
Well, she wrote, apparently, they wrote each other filthy limericks at one point. So
I think hers were legitimately insulting
I
towards him.
think they were too. I mean, I think they were. He laughed about them in interviews, but I think they probably were, because I think he probably messed with her the same way he messed with Carlin, and she didn't like it too much.
Joan Bennett was not that type of gal. I mean, she'd go drop acid at a weird party in the village.
Yeah,
but she took that seriously. She was hanging out there with Cary Grant and a psychologist.
Yep. Yep. That's right.
Elliot Gould is here. He's from the movie MASH. James Brolin, Josh Brolin's dad, is here. So,
yep.
Great cast.
It is. I mean, it is a cast from the era of movies I love, where you had so many so-called stars that there was a row of boxes at the bottom of a poster that had their pictures in that row.
Yeah.
And I miss that method of film promotion.
Yeah. They did that. I remember as a kid, all of the Irwin Allen films.
That's right.
That.
No, the Towering Inferno.
Enormous casts, and they spent so much money on actors.
The Swarm.
Yep.
When time ran out.
I mean, okay, Remy.
You've got Bill Baird over there with the bat?
Yeah, it's my Shih Tzu pretending to be the Bill Baird bat. Yes.
Yeah.
You need to have that in one of your videos. Like, is that a ghost?
Yeah, really.
I mean, no, that'd be funny.
There's some excellent performances in this film. I think Karen Black has a great character in this film.
Not enough of her, but
you know, I think she was, she's spicy in this film. You choose particular actors to be heroes and villains a lot of times in casting, and Elliot Gould as the ultimate hero in this film, alongside James Brolin, is an interesting choice.
Yeah, it is Hollywood, but it's not too Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's not. It's got faces you'd recognize, but again, I only recognize Sam Waterston's face because I saw him in Law and Order. If I'd never seen Law and Order, I wouldn't know who Sam Waterston was. Right.
At that time, he had done a lot of 70s film goers knew him because he had done The Great Gatsby, and was one of the main players in that. And he'd done a lot of theater work. He was a theater guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did a lot for Joseph Papp.
Yeah.
That was the guy he worked for a lot.
He was definitely a big-time New York theater guy. So, yeah, he had chops, but you're right. He hadn't done a lot of cinematic stuff, but he'd done enough so that people of that generation that would go, somebody my age go to see would say, that's Sam Waterston.
Sam Waterston. Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Was he a stage guy too, Alan?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, sure. That's what we're talking about.
He was, Broadway and Patrick mentions Joe Papp. Joe Papp was the impresario and artistic director of the Public Theater in New York. And every summer, they would do, at the Delacorte, which is an outdoor theater in Central Park, they would do Shakespeare and Shaw and all these various classical works. And they still do, actually. So,
a guy who definitely got a lot of work, Hal Holbrook, great actor.
Oh, tons. Another guy that cut his teeth in New York. He actually managed. This is an interesting connection to Dark Shadows. he was co-manager of Upstairs. What was the name of it? There was it still exists in a different location, but there was this Upstairs nightclub, and he co-managed it with Lovelady Powell. You remember her one show that she played in, and there's a possibility that she was considered for Julia Hoffman as well, and turned it down. But Lovelady Powell was a chanteuse, and she also appeared on a couple of Shelley Berman type albums.
Mm-hmm.
He was a comedian in the 60s and 60s, particularly 50s and 60s. And she also appeared on Danny Kaye's variety show several times. So she had an interesting career, but Hal Holbrook was developing his Mark Twain Tonight back in the 50s, and Keep Body and Soul together, because he was married to his first wife at the time, and they would just travel around in this station wagon, basically taking his Mark Twain show to various locations. But to keep Body and Soul together, he managed this place Upstairs at the Duplex is what it was.
Yeah.
Is called.
Well, the Mark Twain situation is kind of funny because he was not able to get the rights to do what was it, Harold Robbins Tonight. That was the great author that he wanted to do the one-man show based on. People love the wit of Harold Robbins.
It's true, but his head was also too big for the hat. So
all seriousness aside, Holbrook for me really steals the movie.
He's incredible,
and he gets to do something twice that really almost didn't exist back then. Sure as hell doesn't exist now, and it makes me miss it. And that's he gets at least 2 extended monologues.
Yeah.
Where the camera barely cuts away.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problematic thing about Peter Hyams. Peter Hyams is a hack, except when he isn't.
Right.
And when he isn't, he's actually a really fine writer. It's not. I mean, you're not going to see it in Blue Thunder, but
no.
but he has moments.
This script is one of those moments, and I think at least it is in reasonably consistently, because I like the storytelling in this movie. It's not bad, especially for a Hollywood flick. It's not
the actors get to act.
Yeah.
It's strange that this of all things should be an actor's movie.
Right.
It certainly is not a logician's movie, but it doesn't claim to be.
No, it doesn't. And I think that the stroke of genius with this movie is probably casting so many really good actors, and then having them probably make some suggestions about certain things and taking them.
It's interesting. I wonder if Holbrook was allowed to rewrite his monologues. Because they're really good.
They are. And by this time, he had done significant work on the stage.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
That's pretty much it. And he certainly knew monologues. I mean, he had over 4 hours of material to work with in his Mark Twain show by the 1970s. So he knew how to craft a monologue.
Yes, he did. And Hyams, as a writer, the best Peter Hyams story I know is Roy Scheider was saying that there was a line that didn't make any sense or something like that. And Hyams said, "You know what, Roy, just say whatever you want, but make sure you put the word shit in it."
Yeah.
I guess to make it sound relevant and edgy.
And edgy probably more than anything else. Or to keep the sense of anger or whatever, frustration in the line. Yeah, sure.
Development. Peter Hyams began thinking about a film of a space hoax while working on broadcast of the Apollo mission for CBS. He was
a time traveler. He actually consulted with Joe Rogan and then went back.
Oh God, that guy.
He later reflected regarding the Apollo 11 moon landing. There was one event of really enormous importance that had almost no witnesses. and the only verification we have came from a TV camera, he later elaborated. So whenever there was something on the news about space flight, they would cut to a studio in St. Louis where there was a simulation of what was going on. I grew up in the generation where my parents basically believed it. If it was in the news, it was true. That turned out to be bullshit. My generation was brought up to believe television was true, and that was bullshit too. So I was watching these simulations, and I wondered that would happen. What would happen if someone faked the whole story? Shooting for this movie was some fun. Filming that started January 1977. Shooting locations included Cinema Center Films in Studio City and Red Rock Canyon State Park. Yeah. Himes later joked O.J. Simpson was in it, and Robert Blake was in bustling Himes' first feature. I've said many times, some people have IFA Lifetime Achievement Awards. Some people have multiple Oscars. My bit of trivia is that I've made films with two leading men who were subsequently tried for the first-degree murders of their wives. Damn.
In other words, if you're married to someone who gets cast in a Peter Hyams movie, you might want to take a vacation for a while.
And be by yourself and stay cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had many conversations about the O.J. Simpson trial and murder and stuff. The murder of his wife. But that's another discussion for another time. With this movie, who was you guys' favorite character?
That's a weird question because I favorite, I guess Elliot Gould.
I would say so if I had to choose one. I mean, it's not a true ensemble piece, but in some ways it is. Yeah. You know, it's just that it's chopped up in such a way that it kind of partitions the ensemble, but it has that feel to it in certain scenes, like, or maybe it's like mini ensembles within the whole thing. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, I mean, I love the scenes with Elliot Gould and Karen Black. I just love they have a chemistry in there, and she's such a wise ass in this movie. It's refreshing to see her that way. And I had forgotten that she was, that she really sank her teeth into this role.
She doesn't just feel like a common housewife, which is fun.
Well, she's not. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Now, you're not thinking of Brenda Vaccaro, are you?
Yeah. I think you might be. Because, Karen Black's character is a pistol. She's nobody's housewife. She's the would-be girlfriend of Elliot Gould's character.
Yeah.
He would have her as girlfriend. She is kind of keeping him at semi-arm's length.
Oh, she's the reporter. She's the reporter, right?
Yeah, she's not. Yeah. She's not letting him off the hook.
Yeah.
But she does give him her car and some money. So.
Yeah. Elliot Gould's character. Yeah, Gould's character goes off a bridge because his brakes are cut and everything else is not working.
Yeah, his accelerator is stuck and the whole 9 yards. It's definitely a downhill ride of Roger Collins.
It's worthy of David Collins. He later went on to work for NASA, and you see what happened.
Yes.
Hey, they needed the right man for the job.
Let me tell you, NASA is the most efficient black ops operation out there. If you follow the action of this movie,
yes,
down to swapping the apartment, which is just a total Hitchcockian move.
Yes, it totally is. I think the smart thing in this screenplay is you figure out, I mean, for one thing, he legitimizes the moon missions. He doesn't say they're faked. As a matter of fact, he says quite the opposite. But this Mars mission, because there's a problem with the life support system, they have to fake it. Otherwise, they're going to lose all this funding and all this money and all this stuff and prestige and everything. So they don't tell even the guys at Mission Control that they're going to do this. They launch the actual capsule.
Yeah.
And have it on automatic pilot kind of thing, you know? And so they apparently are like fooling, you know, tens of thousands of people in and around Mission Control. And only this handful of sinister forces know what's going on. So
my favorite character is the Mission Control studio and how they operate it.
That was really nice. There's a nice truck shot of the whole studio, and it's really it's impressive.
The fact that we get that and we get like you said, the very few people knowing and how tight the inner circle really fucking is.
Yeah. It makes it more plausible. You know,
yeah, it does. Because if too many people know, it's like
there's no way you're gonna. Yeah, there's no way, and you're not gonna be able to like whack everybody if there's 10,000 people that know it. You know, it's just not gonna happen. But that's how the whole thing becomes sinister too, is because there are specific targets.
And it reminds me, this is ahead of its time too, because it reminds me of a little movie we're going to get way down the road called The Truman Show in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yes, there's engineering's going on. Engineering of reality is happening here.
Yeah, and it's really well done too here. Because you have Elliot Gould's character who he has a friend who works for NASA, the NASA, and his friend tells him something. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. Basically, as they're shooting pool, and then his friend got 86th.
And then he almost gets 86th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they toss his apartment, and all this other stuff happens. So yeah, I mean, he's targeted, obviously.
What's a part of this movie that shocked you when you first saw it?
I would say that just how ruthless Hal Holbrook is, despite maintaining the sense of integrity and innocence.
Right. Yeah. Especially after the malfunction of the reentry. That's when and that whole scene where the astronauts slowly realize that they're dead men if they stay there.
Yeah.
And that's reflective of Holbrook's character as well, because they understand that this is a guy that they've known for years, and several of them known him for years and trusted, and now he's a monster. He's going to try to kill them.
This would not be his only villain role. Magnum Force he is really great in as well. Go watch it if you haven't checked it out. And he does that movie before he does this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yep.
And hey, Mitchell Ryan is in Magnum Force.
That's correct. He is. That was around the time that his career received a resurgence. He did television once he went into recovery from his drinking problem. He went back to LA and he went into television, and he did a lot of guest shots, and he actually got a series at one point, Executive Suite, which happened in the mid 70s. And then he really started to work a lot once he got sober.
What's you guys' favorite scene about this movie?
Man, there's a couple, but
I really like the message home scene that the astronauts have from the capsule. They present a wonderfully controlled ambiguity in that.
Yeah,
that
and
I really
almost
appreciate.
Depressed. Yeah, they're almost depressed.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's like, so you get that sense as well. And yeah, that's a great scene. It does encapsulate, no pun intended, a lot of what's going on in the movie. But I also, I really, weirdly, I really like the sort of, as we're getting towards the ending of the movie and the whole Telly Savalas thing.
Yes.
like, I really like that. I don't. It was kind of like, okay, now we're going to inject this whoosh of fresh air into the whole thing, literally and figuratively, this whoosh of air, and we're going to have this action sequence. It's going to be pretty intense, pretty cool, but also you get this interesting character that and this rescue thing that happens. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was well done. If you're going to put action in, it worked. It wasn't just sort of, oh, we have to. It's it's the third act. We have to put this massive action scene in here. It's like it made sense.
Yeah, it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Telly Savalas' character is a lot of fun in that scene too. So don't forget, I get half. That whole thing.
Yeah,
he's doing that. So. And I think at this point he had already done Kojak too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's what I
thought. My favorite scene in this movie, if you will, is because again I watched this today, so I went in not knowing what to expect, and how. My favorite's when Hal Holbrook is talking to them, and then he when they go over to that studio where the fake background is and stuff, and you realize how screwed they inevitably will be.
Yeah. Either they do it or they are totally screwed.
Yeah. And then,
as it turns out. So
again, it has a great tone to it. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. It has a nice pace.
Yep.
It's a fun movie. So
and it's very typical of its time. It's not a movie we would have gotten 10 years before. It's not a movie we would have gotten 10 years later. It's a very specific style.
It is. The grain and color of the film stock, the lighting, all of that sort of thing is definitely evocative of this period from the mid 70s to about 1980, 82, somewhere there. So yeah, but it's well written enough and well acted enough so that it doesn't appear to be. It's not so dated that you don't want to look at it because, oh my God, it's from that. It's a 70s film, and some films from that era are rather dated that aren't as pleasurable to watch as this film.
Yeah,
it is a fun movie. I mean, for all of its sadness and so on, there is a sense of fun to it that I always respond to.
No, I agree, and that's that's part of that is the way that they build the tension and to have the little action sequences and the big one at the end and all of that sort of thing. It's stimulating.
Yeah. What do you guys give the scale 1 to 10?
About a 6.
I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
I like Elliot Gould.
Elliot Gould's great. It's good to see him in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it 7.25. It's a fun movie. It's entertaining. It doesn't bore you.
It's worth being entertained by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can see a Brolin who, and
the original Brolin.
Yeah, the OG one.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Marcus Welby, MD. That's how he got his big stuff. Early 70s.
I'm the one guy that hates Amityville Horror to death, and it's like
I don't like that.
I hate it too. I think you remember our
that's right.
Yeah, we had a pretty good bitch session about it.
Yeah, we did.
One of our first shows.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like James Brolin, but I don't like that movie.
And I like the actress in it too. It's like they got good cast, but it's like, oh no. So come on, they did this for them. Like,
well, yeah, they did.
not meaning the characters. Actors do stuff for money, but the couple who made the claims that did it.
Sure. I mean, it was the original fake news. That whole story.
It was. It really was.
But
like, really, like I've been to Gettysburg, and listen, no, There's no ghosts there.
No. Been a couple of times myself. So
it's like, come on now. What movie do you guys want to do next?
That's a good question.
Because if you don't have a movie in mind, I do.
Okay, what do you have in mind?
Go for it.
It's a very, very fun movie that I immensely enjoyed. I hope you guys will too. Let's talk to 12 Angry Men.
Oh, that's an awesome film.
Yeah.
You're talking about the original one, right?
Yeah, with Henry Fonda. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast.
That sounds terrific.
Yep.
You guys good for tomorrow?
Should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yep.
I have a lot of fun facts about that movie. So, guys, I'll see you tomorrow night. Links to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel will be in the description box. Link to Patrick Cray's Dark Shadows Day will be in the description box. Alan, make sure you rewatch Freddy's Dead. You will not be unamused at all. Oh,
probably
God.
not. I probably have a good laugh with that.
I threw it in earlier today, and it's like, God, what the fuck? Oh my God. And again, like, you could tell in the first movie that Freddy was a child molester, and it's like, by the time you get to this movie, it's like Freddy was the one out of all the slashers that became the rock star of them all.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he was the one that was allowed to talk.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true, but
he had a story. He had, a real story. Some of the other ones have little bits and pieces, but not a full story.
Yeah,
Michael
hasn't said shit in 15 years.
Right?
Jason's never talked. Jason's mother talked plenty.
Yes, why she was killed. She's just.
As our buddy Butcherism Mom likes to say, she was crazy, and she was.
Yes. Betsy Palmer did a great job with that role.
Yes, she did. She's in a Henry Fonda movie, The 10 Star, with the guy who played Norman Bates.
She's another lady that had a lot of chops in theater. She did a lot of theater. She did a show. She did when Tennessee Williams rewrote Summer and Smoke and called it Eccentricities of a Nightingale. One of the productions starred her and David Selby.
Oh, cool.
And they actually toured it for a while. So.
She brought some of her theater to Friday the 13th. And there's a scene where you hear a little kid, help me. Now, there's no kids in that movie. It's Betsy Palmer, because once upon a time, Betsy Palmer did play Peter Pan on Broadway. So, and the reason she did the movie is so she could get a new car.
She was definitely a cash deal. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Noble reason.
Yeah, I know it.
I'll see you guys tomorrow night. God bless.
Right. You got to pay.
All right. Take care, sir.
Bye.
Bye.